So word of advice, if you want to be with a woman, you need to become a real man.
Welcome to the finale of Do You Accept This Rose? Baylee, our usual co-host, is in Jamaica. So we have our special guest today, Lilly.
Hi, guys.
This is also her first season watching The Bachelor, just like me.
Yeah.
Not the best first season to watch.
I'm disappointed, to say the least, honestly. I wasn't impressed, and I was not pleased, but I continued to watch every single week.
Oh yeah. It's probably not how you're supposed to feel.
No.
So last week, we didn't have an episode because nothing really happened. It was Women Tell All.
Yep.
And really the only takeaway is that Victoria F. finally got sent home.
Finally.
You really put your heart out there.
I know, I don't want to hear it. Truly, I don't.
And then this week was the 2-night finale, which is really crazy, and so much happened. Monday night, the girls meet his family.
So I started the season. I had missed the first, 2 episodes, I think, because I was resisting. I wasn't going to watch it. And then I just said, you know what, we're going to go all in. So I missed Madison initially meeting his parents. But it didn't even matter.
No, they acted like it didn't even happen.
Right, it was totally flipped.
They loved her when they met her that first time.
I mean, I have to admit, he seems like he's in awe of you, and that makes me very happy because I really like you. Give me a hug.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
We can talk about how that changes
Yes.
in a little bit, but Hannah Ann meets them for the first time, and I'm pretty sure they only spend an hour with her maybe, and they were in love.
But I noticed from the beginning of the episode, she was already crying. She was very emotional. Anything you asked her, I feel like she had tears in her eyes. She didn't know how to react. Even when she was walking in to see his parents, she was so overwhelmed. So I feel like that kind of got her in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
especially
I feel like his mom was just eating that whole thing up.
She cries just as much as I do.
I know, and my son, isn't it great? We can all cry together.
And he sat on the couch holding her the whole time, and they're just talking to her so how has it been? And she's
and he's just
on him. She's great. I love everything.
It's suffocating.
They just love her, so that goes by really quickly. And then Madison comes. They sit outside of the house for apparently 3 hours.
How do you sit still for 3 hours? I mean, I'm sure they got up to go to the bathroom, but 3 hours?
I like Madison. Their conversations never go anywhere though. It's
circles. Every single sentence she's like and like this and like that. I feel like after Fantasy Suites, she was honest about it. She was just I told you how I felt. I gave you an ultimatum. Yes, it was, but if you love me, it shouldn't matter. He didn't listen. And then after that, she kind of just rolled with it.
You could tell that she knew it had to end, but she was just kind of reaching for words that were well, I still have love for you.
Every single time she was almost there, and I was on the edge of my seat, and I was come on, you can say it, you can do it, and she just would just lose it. And I was just can we just bring it back? So they talk about how they're in a rocky place, but then she says she's in love with him. She's I'm falling in love with you, and he's that's all I've been wanting to hear this entire time. And I was that's a red flag, because you have Hannah Ann, who you're also madly in love with.
It's you, I want you to stay, it needs to be us in the end. Meanwhile, Hannah Ann's chilling at the hotel, waiting.
I mean, I don't know how every Bachelor and Bachelorette does it. I don't know if they're both, everybody's I love you, and then I love you, but he really was going in for it.
Yeah, he's equal amount of love. I'm no, you don't. You know you like one better.
You like Maddie, and it was so. And then he calls her Maddie. I'm what are we going? Are we on the nickname basis now? Can I call her Maddie?
I think I've been calling her Maddie. She finally comes in, and it's so awkward from the beginning. She doesn't really smile, but it's understandable because they're just having a tough conversation.
Yeah, they had an uncomfortable conversation, but the glares from Barb. Can we relax? Your son, who you love so much, voluntarily goes on this show. He's going to be with multiple women. You should trust him to make that decision. But immediately when she comes in, she's she's already made her decision.
The biggest thing that made her turned off from Maddie was Maddie's very honest, which props to her, because this would be so awkward to talk with his family about.
Yeah.
She's well, I told him, I didn't want him to be intimate with other girls. And he was, so I'm upset. And Barb was just kind of
Do you blame her? She had one thing that she's really passionate about. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's for her. And if he loved her the way that she wanted, then he shouldn't have been intimate with anybody else.
Barb was like, well, this is what Peter wants. And Madison was like, well, my values matter just as much as his.
What did she say? She said something. She was like she had completely valid points.
Yeah.
And Barb was just not
even listening.
Not having it.
Then when she left, Barb starts crying and is like, she's the worst. Pick Hannah Ann. We love Hannah Ann. And it's
Bring her home, Peter.
My God.
She's a dream come true, and God has placed her there for you. That's what love stories are made out of. Someone that is so madly in love with you.
It was like he was going to war. Yes. I was like, is he okay? Like, am I missing footage here? Like, she was hysterical. Like, he had a conversation with his brother.
Yes.
I was so uncomfortable. You're gonna, like, be with Maddie for the rest of your life and wait until you get married, bro? Like, how are you gonna share your feelings? And I was like, how old are you?
Going directly from there, basically, he goes on a date with Maddie. From what he's saying to the camera, he's implying, like, it's her. I'm gonna propose to her. This is perfect. I don't care what my family says. So they go on a helicopter date, they have a picnic in the outback, and there's a million mosquitoes. Like, oh my goodness, get tested.
What they are. They were legit, like, huge. And he's, like, talking to her, and he's, like,
it's, like, in her eyelashes.
Her eyelashes are, they're so long.
The bottom ones are a little crazy for me.
They're also incredibly, like, separated.
I've just never seen something like
freakishly
it.
long.
Like, they could definitely, like, grab you.
Yeah, maybe that's what the bugs, she was like,
He thinks it's going great, and she breaks up with him.
this was insane.
She was kind of facing the facts of, like, we're so different. I think she was probably also like, your family doesn't like me.
I feel like she never really let out her feelings. I expected her to fully leave after Fantasy Suites.
Me too.
I felt like she should have. That was her one thing that she was really passionate about, and it happened not the way she wanted. And I was like, you should leave if you feel that passionate about it, but love conquers all. So she stays. But I think the conversation with his parents really put her over the edge.
So she leaves. And he's a mess about it. Decides, like, hey, let's keep leading Hannah Ann on. So then takes Hannah Ann on a date.
And is super over the top about it. He's so excited. He loves her. He goes on and on about how much he loves her. But literally the day before, he's in shambles.
After saying that it was going to be Maddie.
Yep.
So they go on a date. They play with these baby kangaroos, which was like a dream. She always gets the best dates, Hannah Ann.
She does have really good dates.
They jet ski. They play with kangaroos. Madison is just, he's like, I'm going to dangle you over the side of a building. Love conquers all. After the beautiful date they had, I think they were probably supposed to have dinner after, because Hannah Ann's in a beautiful dress, and then he shows up in like a Target hoodie.
It was so awkward. Like watching him come in and like sit down, she like couldn't really sit down, so she was like sliding, and I was like, oh.
Keep in mind, this is the night before the proposal.
Yeah.
So she's probably
I think she was trying to get some like personal time with him.
To secure it.
Yeah, to secure that ring.
And he shows up, you can tell that he's like probably been crying, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, hey, and he's like, I'm torn, and she's like.
He was so not into it.
It's hard being so certain and so sure of someone and just not getting that in return. You just seem not, completely there.
This is when honest Hannah Ann starts coming out, and she's like, why would you tell me this the night before the engagement? And also keep in mind, she thinks Maddie is still there.
Do you think producers were like telling him not to tell Hannah Ann?
I think it was all his choice.
Because that's really messed up.
So I guess we'll just jump into night 2. This is where things get whack. He decides to propose to Hannah Ann. Literally, this is a few hours after he like showed up in his hoodie and was really like glum. And then the next morning he's like, I love Hannah Ann.
He had such high energy. And I was just wondering where that switch came from. Because all season I feel like she was really into him.
She was.
And was really genuine about everything. And all of a sudden he was just super into her, which that was weird.
Maybe he was just persuaded by his family and was like, I have no one left. Chose the first ring that, what is it, Neil Lane?
He's scary. I have the rings for you. What one would you like?
And Peter was like, first one.
He's like, that one, done.
Maybe that was a red flag for how little he cared about the engagement.
I wanted to see all the other ones. They're
Yeah.
like really expensive and nice, and he had 5 options. I was like, I would like to explore those options.
Peter was like, I don't know the cheapest.
Peter
I'm
was
gonna
like,
break it off soon.
Peter
anyways.
was like, nah.
There's a whole drama of is Hannah Ann even coming, which was so pointless because she was coming.
I don't even think that was real.
No, I think Chris Harrison was like, this will be great. So she comes down, and you can tell that she fully thinks he's gonna pick Madison.
She looked great.
She did look really great.
I loved her dress. The
Yeah.
cream silk. It was really pretty. Sure,
Yeah.
her outfits have been pretty good.
Yeah, she's killing it. She shows up, and then he proposes, but only in the middle of that, he's like, by the way, Maddie left, but I'm choosing you.
I love you so much. Let's spend the rest of our lives together. But the person you were competing with for my love also left. So you are my only option.
And you could see on her face that she was kind of like, wait, what? But then he proposes, so she gets excited and sidetracked, and is like, yes! And she straight up is like, I can't believe it's me. So during this episode also, they're jumping between like this and the live studio reaction where like Chris Harrison is and Peter is. As soon as you see them get engaged, it cuts to Peter and Chris live, and they're like, well, didn't last very long. And we find out that 2 months later, they've been engaged for 2 months. She comes to visit him. He just says, I can't give you my full heart right now. And she's understandably very mad. And it's like, well, then why did you waste my time?
I guess in that time, Peter had brought up talking to Hannah Brown, who I'm not familiar with. I know the T on Hannah Brown.
Same.
Sort of, kind of. I know she's going on Dancing with the Stars. But he needed closure with Hannah Brown.
Yeah.
I don't know how long they're filming on the show for, but you just got engaged to someone that you've known for I don't know how long, but you're talking to someone. Why do you need closure? I don't understand that.
Okay, so Hannah Ann was on a podcast like 2 days ago.
Oh, sure.
That Rachel, I don't know her last name, she used to be a Bachelorette. She runs it, and she was on, and they asked her about the timeline of things. The show wrapped before Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and that's when they got engaged. And then at the beginning of January, right before the show came out, Peter was like, hey, I think I need to reach out to Hannah Brown. And Hannah Ann was like, okay, why? And she said that he basically manipulated her and was like, you don't need to worry about it. I just want to reach out to her. And then later when the show was coming out, he said to Hannah Ann, it's going to be tough for me to rewatch the show, but don't worry about it. But like, it's going to be really tough for me. And she basically was like, he was dropping all these red flags, but would always convince me to not be worried about it. So I think he's a little emotionally manipulative.
I can see that.
Probably from his mom, runs in the family. They're not engaged anymore.
Oh, when he told his parents that they got engaged.
Oh!
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so rewind a little bit. They just got engaged, and he goes to tell his parents about it. And you would think his mom was like having a heart attack with how excited she was.
Oh my God. Bud, tell us who it is, Bud. Oh, Bud.
And they FaceTime her, and even the brother's like, we love you,
And
Hannah
she's like,
Ann.
how's my daughter?
I feel like even Hannah Ann was like, whoa.
I just like, everybody needs to pipe
She
down.
was like, yeah, I'm excited too. I saw a tweet that said the dad looks like the car from Cars with like the mustache.
Oh my God, he does.
Yeah, I'll put in a picture so you guys can see it. Yeah, so they get engaged, they break it off, and then Hannah Ann comes out live to confront Peter, and it is savage.
She said, I said yes, and I get this. Why didn't you just say no instead of taking this away from me? She also says, you've done enough damage, we're done, and I mean that. Word of advice. To be in a relationship with a woman, you need to be a real man.
Yes.
The look on his mom's face. She literally was just like, you right.
Didn't she like clap? I think she was clapping.
She was all for it with Hannah Ann, like all for it. Even when he was ripping him apart, she was all for it. And I respected her for that aspect.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's your son and that's got to be a sensitive conversation, but he was wrong.
Yeah.
And she really liked her, and I feel like that, I wasn't mad at her at that point of the show.
Barb?
Yeah, I wasn't mad at Barb.
No.
I was annoyed, but I was just like, wow, she's going at it with a, you know, some moms would freak out, I feel like, but she handled it pretty well.
So then Hannah Ann leaves, and then Chris Harrison is like, okay, so surprise, I actually went to Maddie's house without telling you, and
I don't know how true that is.
I don't know. It was just very bizarre.
That whole conversation at her house, I was so annoyed. I'm sorry, I don't know how this show works, but if you leave, I feel like you should be done. And if Peter really is in love with you, he should reach out to you after the fact. Like, I feel like
After the
Chris
show.
should not have been involved. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you were in love, if Peter was in love with her that much, he would have gone out of his way to do it.
Yeah, like he could have messaged her on Instagram. I don't know. Because he goes and is like, Peter doesn't know I'm here, but here's what happened. He proposed, they broke up, he still loves you. And Maddie's like, whoa.
I feel like now, after he said that, she had no choice but to go and see him again.
Like, she's our age.
Yeah.
So I think that she's probably like into him, but I feel like she's still kind of like, I don't really know. But for her, she's probably like, well, I guess I'll go. Like, why not? But you can tell that she's not like in love with him.
I feel like she didn't really know what to do.
And the thing with Madison, there's only one message to what she's saying, but it takes her like 10 minutes to get it out.
It takes so long.
She's the slowest talker I've
And
ever
I'm just
encountered.
Like, just write it down and then
like,
pass it to him.
like-
But she's like, I just like, my heart feels so deeply for you, and like,
Oh my God.
I'm just like in so many like different directions, like, but
Oh
I
my
love you,
goodness.
but like my faith is my everything.
But love conquers all.
Love conquers all, everyone.
That's the moral of the story of
my
Madison.
God.
She shows up, and you can tell that Barb is so mad. Like, she wanted to probably kill Chris Harrison.
She was gonna stuff him in her trunk.
And they have a little camera where you see her like reacting to like Madison talking live.
The entire time, Barb's like in the corner.
Rolling her eyes. And I think that like, yeah, you don't have to like Madison, but the way she was acting was so immature
You are
and
an
childish.
adult.
Yeah,
You
it
have
was
a
just mean.
28-year-old son. She is 20. She's 23.
Yes.
She's a 23-year-old girl. And that is how you're going to treat her. Someone that your son, who you love, loves.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you don't have to like everybody on this earth, but like if your son or your child or your sibling loves somebody, you have to give them respect.
Yeah. And they asked her opinion, and she just goes off about Madison and is like, she was 3 hours late, didn't even apologize. She just didn't. And then everything was about her, though. I didn't feel loved by her. I felt loved by Hannah Ann. It's like, why does that matter?
And Madison was being honest. I feel like she should
Yeah.
appreciate her honesty. Like, she was asking her questions, and she was like, are you all in this? And she was like, not right at the moment. No, I'm
Yes.
pretty disappointed with what has been going on with me and your son. I would never be able to say that. I wasn't a fan of when Madison came out, though, because, like you said, it takes her 20 minutes to get her point across,
Yep.
and Peter's no help when it comes
No.
to articulating how he feels either. So I feel like she was kind of bombarded with Barb.
Yeah.
Bombarded with Barb. Barb had been planning how she was going to respond, with her being 3 hours late, not being totally involved.
I feel like the dad isn't as against her as the mom is.
I feel like the dad's so, like, torn. Be in love with whoever you want to be with, but, like, come to dinner on time and be nice to your mother.
I think
Like,
he probably just wants Peter to be happy.
Right, which his mom should as well, but
Yeah.
she clearly wants a daughter.
Mm-hmm. And all Maddie said was like, I'm not going to say anything negative about you. Like, I disagree with a lot of what you're saying, but I'm not going to say anything. And Barb still just keeps throwing insults at her.
She literally didn't go back at Barb at all. She was like,
No.
I actually disagree with that. It takes two people to be in a relationship,
Yep.
and that's, like, as aggressive as she got.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was impressive, because Barb was going in. She was just like, none of our family believes that they'll make it. Like, all of his friends don't see
Yeah.
it. And she closes it with, you are going to have to fail to succeed.
Disgusting.
And it makes me sad to say this, but they're not, I don't see them lasting.
They're not going to work.
Because he is such a mama's boy, like you said, and I
Yep.
feel like you can't really take a mama's boy and rip him away from his mom. Especially him with his track record and how emotional he is. Like, he needs a diaper change like every 3 hours.
Her and Hannah Ann could do so much better. So they leave it off of like him, Maddie and Peter are like, we'll take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
So they're going to try. And that's basically how it ends.
I liked Kelsey a lot, and when he sent her home, I was shook.
I think they would have been really good together.
I really liked them together, and at the Women Tell All, I feel like I liked her even more.
Yeah, she just defended
She
everybody.
stood up for
and-
herself. She addressed all the rumors. She had no problem doing any of that. She was funny. She addressed the
funny.
Champagne Gate, which I never saw. I just saw
it's
clips
awesome.
of it. I know, I gotta rewatch that episode. Maybe I'll rewatch the beginning episodes.
So just to recap, technically we were both right.
Technically, you're both right, but you're also both wrong.
Hannah Ann went on Ellen today and said that.
She did?
Yep, and said he was a bad kisser. so I love Hannah Ann.
I feel like she's gonna date an athlete. I feel like she's gonna
can
do
see that.
big things.
Mm-hmm.
She's a pretty girl. She's young.
Yeah.
She was great on the show. She was
Oh, yeah.
honest. I thought she was funny.
She was very go with the flow the whole season.
Yeah.
Never really said anything like controversial, didn't want to start a fight, and then at the end she was just like, here's what I've been feeling the whole
I was
time.
so happy that she popped off on him. She was the only girl I feel like, I don't know. I feel like she was the only girl who kind of stood up for herself.
And she even said, you hurt so many people in this process.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she spoke for everybody. So,
On to the next.
a very sad ending for a very long season.
They were like, you'll never guess what happens. And I was like, I feel like a lot of people guessed it.
Yeah,
the
I'm like,
entire
it wasn't
time.
that crazy, buddy. So, we'll see you next time, maybe for Paradise, maybe
Maybe.
for the Bachelorette.
Maybe.
Baylee will be back. We can do a 3-host thing now.
There's no appropriate way to phrase that.
3 of us can bring the show to you. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.